There are rooms dedicated for hiring people. There are rooms that are literally said, okay, we're in the market, we're looking for people, come and pitch us.
Have you heard of Clubhouse? And is it the future of social media, or is it just going to be another fad? In this video, I'll be interviewing YouTube and social media expert Liron Segev. We're going to break down this new Clubhouse app. You'll learn what it is, best practices, how to stand out, but also at the end, we're going to cover some kind of dangers to avoid and help you determine if this is a fad or if Clubhouse really has a future. Hey friends, welcome to Chine Coaching. I'm Rob, and we love helping internationals be successful in their cross-cultural journey. And this is, I think, a great way to learn about your job search as well. In this video, we're excited to talk about Clubhouse. We've got our guest here, Liron. Liron, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. This is super exciting. Love talking kind of all social media, all things YouTube. So Clubhouse definitely fits into that. So my name is Liron Segev. I'm a tech blogger and a YouTuber. I'm also a YouTube growth strategist, and we're about to launch a brand new podcast as well. So this is kind of my space. This is where I coach my clients, and I'm happy to offer lots of value so that you guys can rock it.
Yeah, it's an honor having Liron. I've learned so much from you on just YouTube and growing my own YouTube channel. So thank you so much for that. It's also been fun hanging out with you in rooms on Clubhouse and seeing you use that space to benefit others as well. So let's jump right in and talk about what is Clubhouse and kind of how does it work?
Clubhouse is what they call drop-in audio, right? So it's audio only. Think of it as a mixture between Twitter and a podcast. So you have all these rooms, which are like channels. They're a space that's created around a specific topic. People kind of come into the room. There's no cost for this. The app is free. And all you have to do is basically have your audio on, no camera. And then each room is kind of divided into three sections. You have those that are on what they call a stage. Those are typically the people who create the room. And then they bring up guests from the audience who become speakers or moderators. And we'll get into that shortly. So that's the kind of the top section.
Mm-hmm.
The middle section are people that the moderators or people on stage, those are the people that they follow. They have think of it like as the VIP section in a concert, right? And then you have the rest of the guests, which are just people listening in onto what's going on. What's really cool is that it's a conversation, could be literally about anything. Different rooms are anything from YouTube growth to mindset to music industry. I mean, any topic you can think of, there is a room for it. And you choose which room you want to go into, and then you can follow people. And when they go into a room, you can choose to be notified so that you could pop into that room and just listen in. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how it works.
It feels like you're kind of going to a conference and there's all these workshops to choose from, and you can kind of just hop in and out. And there's so many different topics, just like you mentioned. Clubhouse has just been around for not that long, just several months, right?
It was actually quite a while. It
Okay.
just became cool recently, right?
Yeah.
It has been out for a while, and it's iOS only. It is
Mm-hmm.
You have to have an invite to be able to get your user account in Clubhouse. So there is still that kind of area of exclusivity, but the
Mm-hmm.
app itself has been around for a bit. Only recently, this whole social media kind of tipping point happened where it just absolutely exploded.
Yeah. Most people I've seen on there have only been joined or invited in the last few months, or maybe kind of the last fall or end of last year. But let's talk about the invites. How does somebody get invited, and how can they invite others as well?
Getting the initial invite is the hard part. And typically you would, if you're interested in getting an invite, you would go into social media and simply ask, hey, has anybody got a spare invite? What happens when you're invited? You need your mobile number, your cell phone number, and that gets linked to your account. So when you join, it kind of marries the two up and say, okay, this person has got an invite, and allows you to create your profile. Once you're in, they allocate you a certain number of invites that you can go ahead and pay it forward and invite somebody else in. Now, it seems to be that the more active you are in Clubhouse, the more rooms you go into, the more stages, the more participation that you have, you seem to get a couple of more invites and a couple of more invites. The different people I've spoken to have a different experience. Some automatically get 4 or 5 invites and that's it, and they've never received any more.
Hmm.
Others constantly getting invites and are getting, hey, you've qualified for 3 more invites or 7 more invites. So I think they're kind of testing out different models. And again, I say I think because we don't really do this. But essentially that's how it works. If you're looking for an invite, you need to have iOS because it only works on iOS.
Mhm.
And then go out into social media. Facebook, Twitter is a good place, LinkedIn, anywhere that you have a community that's out there, and say, hey, who's got a spare Clubhouse invite? Because it's kind of reached that tipping point where there's a lot more people in there. People have already given out their invites and now they've got some more.
Mhm.
People are happy to share it. What I've seen, which is super crazy, is people are actually selling invites on like eBay. Um,
Wow.
and that's going for like $135 for an invite. That's ridiculous. But people are obviously desperate to get in because they want to know, the whole
Mhm.
FOMO, fear of missing out. They want to
Yeah.
know what's going on in this thing. And some people are actually buying them. To be honest, I've seen a lot of people saying, hey, I've got spare invites. Who wants them? So
Now, I've heard maybe someday in the future it'll be available for Android and it won't be invite, but it's still kind of in that beta test, which makes it exclusive, correct?
yeah, correct. Even now, the company's gone through another round of funding. Which is obviously allowing them to invest more in architecture. Remember that in Clubhouse has blown up completely. I mean, the numbers have just skyrocketed. I don't even know
Hmm.
what the latest number is, but it's in the millions. That means that their infrastructure, their servers, their hardware needs to be able to handle all of that, especially since it's voice. So it's much bigger than just text on the screen.
Hmm.
Once they kind of bed all that down and then they work out all the new teething problems of dealing with multi-millions of people in there. So these things like bullying, how do they deal with that? Like tools for moderators that they need to be able to better control a room. All of those little nuances are coming out because of the sheer volume of people.
Hmm.
Once they bed that down, then they'll start kind of opening up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more until it becomes available. I think it's a smart move, still keeping it exclusive. So you still have
Hmm.
that kind of like you have to be on the list to get in, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it will open up at a point. The big fear is that what happens when it does, like when it becomes
Hmm.
available to Android and iOS, no invite necessary. So it's yet another Instagram, yet another Twitter. Will this ruin the platform? In other words, now that you have billions and millions of kids and marketers joining it,
Hmm.
our brand's going to mess this up for the rest. Because
Yeah.
we all know when brands get on board, things go south. So
Yeah.
um, are people going to be still willing to share it freely on Clubhouse now that they know that there's a bigger picture involved? I don't know.
Hmm.
We'll have to wait and see how that shapes out.
Exactly. Exactly. So, what are some of the unique benefits and opportunities that people can find on Clubhouse compared to other social apps?
With other social apps, like let's look at Twitter, for example. You're free to follow anybody that you want. So can you on Clubhouse. You're free to engage with anyone on Twitter. You can send them a DM if they've got their DMs open, or you can tweet them, at them, or retweet them. You've got that interaction. You essentially are able to try get their attention. On Clubhouse, it's slightly different. Yes, you can still follow people, and Clubhouse doesn't have a built-in messaging application. The only way to send a message, to each other is you got to go off platform. You got to link your Twitter account or link your Instagram account or both, and then use those DM features to try and make those connections. But what is really cool about Clubhouse is just the sheer quality of people that are on there.
Hmm.
So anyone from, I don't know if you watch the Shark Tank.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Damon's on there, Mr. Wonderful's on there, Barbara's on there. So you get these amazing, insanely successful people which are in rooms and just offering advice. How
Mhm.
else?
I've seen screenshots of people in a room with Elon Musk or Bill Gates sometimes.
It's crazy. So the access to people is a great, great platform for that. You also are able to look at people's bios. And when you go through their bios, you can kind of see who they are. And is it worth making a connection? Are you able to help them? Are they able to help you? Typically, that kind of Clubhouse is a big networking event. So you mentioned it's like being at a conference. I look at it like being in a conference, but I also look at it like as if, after the big sessions are finished, everyone's hanging around in the coffee shop. You can kind of overhear certain conversations. If you're feeling brave, you can kind of raise your hand and say, "Hey, I've got a comment or I've got a question on this particular topic." And what people typically do is that they look at people's bios to see who is speaking, who is on stage, who is a moderator. And you can start making some really, really powerful connections. Say, hey, send you a DM, a great session today at Clubhouse, got to hang out. Thanks for being on stage with me. I've got a question about this when you have a moment, and you can send them a message. Now you got that personal connection because you just hung out with them. And the big thing about Clubhouse is it's not just some anonymous, well, not anonymous, some text behind the screen, but you can actually hear them. It's that conversation. It's that personal old school telephone call, when you know the person, you hear their voice, and therefore you're able to make a much more intimate connection. So it's really, really good for networking. Really good.
Yeah, the power for networking is huge. And I've seen so many people start a conversation on Clubhouse and then take it offline for business, for jobs. People are getting connected with recruiters, which you'll never get connected with them on LinkedIn. So yeah, the potential is huge. But what are some of the etiquettes, and how should new users interact as they're learning Clubhouse?
So the best thing to do, as with any social media, is join it and then watch and learn, right? Join some rooms, see what the etiquette is, and how are people talking? How are they connecting? When they get called up on stage, what happens? Some good tips to kind of bear in mind here is you can join any room, and there's no problem there. And when you join the room, you don't have to worry about anything. All you're doing is listening, and that's not an issue. You can leave a room. There's a button that says leave quietly. So you can leave that room and go join another room. Really, no big deal. Bounce around as many rooms as you want to. No issues. When you're in a room, at a certain point, the speakers, the moderators will maybe say, hey, has anybody got any questions? Raise your hands. And there's a button in your app that says raise your hand. If you raise your hand as a moderator, you get a notification saying so-and-so raised their hands. They've got, assuming you have a question or a comment, I can invite you up onto stage. Now, here is very important. When you get invited up onto stage, the first thing you need to do is instantly mute your mic. There's a button that looks like a little mic. Press it to mute it. For some reason, when you get called up on stage, the way the app is built is that your mic's automatically on. Now, you can imagine there's a conversation going on stage. People are answering a previous person's comment. Now, you get called on stage. Your mic is not on mute, and everybody can hear your conversation. Everyone can hear what's going on in the background. So a big etiquette here is as you get called on stage, hit that mute button so that you're not disturbing the conversation that's going on up there. Again, each room is different, and then the moderators normally set the scene for that room, and they'll say, hey, you'll hear this often, we're resetting the room. And what resetting the room means, hey, I'm just letting you know what this room is about. And typically they would say, hey, thank you for joining the YouTube growth room. In this room, we're talking about taking your YouTube questions. Feel free to come up and ask any question that you want. That could be one thing. Another room could be, hey, this is the pitch room. We want to hear your business ideas. You've got 10 seconds to pitch your idea. Then you got to follow that instruction. So remember, no two rooms are the same. So always listen to what your room is and what are the rules for that room. A good rule of thumb is when you get up on stage, do not go into a 2-hour bio of where you've been, where you were born and your journey. Nobody cares, right? Get into it. They normally say it's like a 30-second introduction and then a 30-second question. So, hi, my name is Liron Segev. I'm a YouTube growth strategist. My question to you is, and then get into it, because that's where the real conversation happens. What we find often, which exactly what you said, like in an event, like in a conference, people get up there, they give a 5-minute whole speech about their life, and then the question is just something at the very tail end of that. So self-promotion is a really big issue on Clubhouse, but we try to deal with it as we go. So good etiquette is come up, 30 seconds introduction. Hi, my name is, this is what I do, and my question is, and then get into it. People will respect you much more than having to hear your entire life story.
Yeah, short and sweet, to the point. That way more dialogue and helpful information can be spread. And if you guys are loving this video and learning a lot from Liron, give a big like and say thumbs up to say thanks to him. And before we get to some more practical tips, our chai question for you guys in this video is, have you interacted on Clubhouse yet? Let us know in the comments. Let us know if you've been on Clubhouse yet. What do you think? What do you like? What questions do you have? Share in the comments. and would love to get your thoughts and experience because we're all learning together.
Drop your username in the comment. We can follow each other. Let's go build this community up on Clubhouse. Why not?
Definitely, yeah. We'll put our links in the description as well, so you can connect with Liron and I, and we'd love to follow you guys and check out what you guys are doing on Clubhouse as well. And so the next question, again, a lot of it is built on your profile because there's not too many ways to interact. So what is on the profile and what kind of things should people put on their profile?
So your profile is your bio. It's like who you are. It's like what we said previously about don't spend 20 minutes telling people about your life. Well, that's where you can take time in your profile and actually do that. Because people know that the correct way of doing things. Somebody's on stage, somebody's speaking, somebody's in the audience. You like their picture, click on their profile, and then you'll see everything you need to know about them. So a couple of things within the profile. Firstly, a picture. You got to have a profile picture. Don't make this artsy fartsy kind of situation. People connect with people. This is an audio only platform that you cannot zoom in onto pictures like you can on other platforms. A nice close up of your face that is absolutely ideal so that you stand out, and people, when they make that when you start speaking on stages or you start connecting with people, they know who you are. They don't have to guess. So you can try be funny and all of those. That's cute. But if you're trying to really build up your persona, a nice close up of you, that's always ideal. Eyes looking at the camera because you want to make that connection. So that's the profile picture. Underneath that, you've got this free form text where you can basically put in anything. Links are not clickable. So you can still put links in. People know that they can copy and paste those links, but just know that they're not clickable. In the profile, what I normally would do is your hard hitting headlines at the top. Whatever you want people to know about you first should be the first thing that they see. And then if they're interested, then they'll scroll down and they'll read the rest of whatever it is else you've got going on. So things like #1 bestseller, author of those are great. That successfully launched a business in 2020. Those are great. I am currently the guest on these podcasts, or I host these podcasts. Those are great. Anything that's going to tell people, say, okay, I like this person. I want to make a connection with them. Let's see what else they've got going on. Because the next thing that they'll do is they'll scroll further down, and then there is those links to Twitter and to Instagram. And then they're going to go see who you really are. So they get a little snapshot of you on your bio. And if they like it enough, then typically they'll go off into your various other social medias to see exactly who you are.
And when they first click on your bio, they only see the first maybe 3-4 lines. So those first couple lines are the most important real estate. If they like that, then they'll click and then get an expanded version of your bio.
Absolutely. So that's why come out the gate swinging. Another little pro tip here is I like to customize my bio depending on the room that I'm in. So if I'm in a YouTube growth room or YouTube strategy room, I will then put in the top my YouTube growth stuff. If I'm in a podcasting room, I will put my podcast as the top section. If I'm in a tech YouTuber kind of room where we're talking about all the latest gadgets or being a tech YouTuber, I'll put the blog and the YouTube channel at the top. So it's literally copying and pasting and moving things around depending on the room that you're in. And I think that gives a much more impactful ability if you're in a influencer room or in a brand room, and then people click on your link and they go, oh, he's worked with Google and Microsoft. And okay, right, it already gives that impression. But if you're in a podcasting room and people see that, oh, you've worked with Google, it's interesting. But what's more interesting is, oh, I've launched a podcast that's the top 5% of podcasts in the world. Oh, okay, now that's more interesting to the room that I'm in. So kind of customize your bio depending on the room that you're in.
Oh, that's a great tip. Liron, as this is a still new and kind of up and coming platform, what are some warnings that people need to know about, and what are some dangers that people kind of need to really avoid while on Clubhouse?
Okay, so there's a couple. The biggest thing on Clubhouse is that anyone can start a room and anyone can say anything about anything. Okay, basically like any other social media, right? So advice is everywhere. And you got to be really, really careful that when you're in a room, just because someone has started that room doesn't automatically give them the authority that they know what they're talking about. What makes it worse is that when you're in a room, a moderator gets a little star, a little green star under their name, which automatically kind of elevates their status. They're not just speaking in the room, oh, they're a moderator. That means they must know what they're talking about. That is not true. I have heard some horrendous advice being given by moderators in Clubhouse. Terrible, terrible stuff. So listen, take the advice with a pinch of salt. Go do your research on who's giving you that advice. Are they qualified to give you that advice? If somebody's telling you how to grow a successful business, that's making $1 million a year, and you look at their social media profile and they're about the fact that they're going to work every day, well, which one is it? Do they have a business or are they employed 9 to 5? Nothing wrong with that, by the way, but you got to be careful that the advice that you getting is advice from the person that's qualified to give it. Like we always say, never take travel advice from someone who's never left home, right? I can't remember who actually said that, not my quote, but it's true. Like on there, people are advice, they give advice about absolutely everything because people like to hear themselves talk. And you just got to be careful that you're getting the right advice from the right person. The second thing is that it can be a little bit disheartening. You go into certain rooms and you hear about all these people landing these amazing jobs, starting these amazing businesses. And here you are on the sideline thinking about starting work or thinking about starting a new business. Like you've been rejected from job offers for a while now, and all these people everybody seems to be making it. That is not true, right? These are just a snapshot. Whether you have no way of verifying whether that's actually happening. The point is, don't get disheartened by what other people are doing and rather focus on your own journey. Hear what they have to say, pick up some tips. But the fact that I applied for 20 jobs and I've got 21 out of them, it's like, great for you. Well done. Okay. Don't feel bad that if you didn't, if your success isn't the same, that's their journey. You're on your journey. So that's something just to always bear in mind. And then kind of the other thing is that in Clubhouse, because you cannot message each other directly, you have to go off platform, as we said earlier, either Instagram or Twitter, and then you send people a DM. Now, the little bit of a disheartening thing as well is that the moderators will say to you, hey, if you want to connect offline, just simply DM me, or I'll send you more information, simply DM me. So you do, because they've told you to, which is great. And then you get left on red, right? They don't reply, it takes a while. Again, you got to remember that they get flooded with probably hundreds, if not thousands of messages. They cannot get back to everyone. And even though you had this amazing connection, an amazing conversation on Clubhouse, the next day or 2 days or 3 days later, they've already had 20 other amazing conversations over the next couple of days. So just be aware of it. It is, can be a little bit frustrating. You've raised your hand, you waited in the room for an hour, they finally called you, you've made this amazing connection, but they don't follow through. It's just the reality of yet another big social media. So those are kind of the couples that I would think are the top hitting ones that I would bear in mind.
I agree. And one thing I'd love to add too is if you're not careful, Clubhouse can definitely be a time suck. Rooms can go on not just for minutes, but hours, and people keep going and going, and you need to be really careful with that.
I totally agree. There are rooms that literally go on for days. Somebody starts the room in the US, they hand it over to someone in the UK, then they hand it over to someone in India, then they hand it over to someone in the Philippines, then the Far East, then the next morning it comes back to the US again. And those rooms keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. There's so much goodness on Clubhouse. I just want this not to come up as negative. So much value on Clubhouse that you listen to a room and you go, wow, that was amazing. I must write that down. Oh, the next speaker, that's amazing. I must write that. Oh, that's really good. And you just don't switch off. The problem is you just don't switch off. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you got to just be careful of time blocking this and say, okay, I'm going to be on there for an hour. And after an hour, I'll switch off. Get this amazing value and then go and execute on that. Don't fall into the analysis paralysis where you're getting so much great tips, but you just never do them. So you got a book full of amazing things to do, but you just never do them. So I agree with you. Time suck is a big problem on Clubhouse.
You got to have that balance of learning, but also focused productivity, and be careful with the notifications. One, it's helpful because, oh yeah, this friend started a room or this person joined a room. But when you feel all that, then you have that FOMO, which you mentioned of, oh man, should I be joining Clubhouse now? But really, maybe you need to be doing something better. So really evaluate your priorities so you don't get sucked into that time loss and spend way too much time that should be somewhere else.
Right, exactly that.
So let's conclude here, Liron. What is the decision? Is Clubhouse Does it have a future? Is it the new big social media app, or is it going to be a fad that passes away soon? What do you think?
No, I think it's here for a while. And I think that not just Clubhouse, there are about 22 or 23 of these audio only apps that are out there. Some of them are more popular, like Clubhouse. Twitter is trying a feature called Twitter Spaces. I think it is Spaces. Facebook is said to be trying out something as well. So these audio platforms are going to be coming in more and more and more. And then the problem is going to be, well, which one do you build an audience in? Do you build it on Clubhouse? Do you build it on the next big one? Chasing all these shiny objects can obviously be an issue. Do I think drop-in audio is going to be here for a while? Absolutely. Is Clubhouse going to be the king because they happen just to be doing it all right? Possibly. The fact that Twitter is doing an amazing job, and on Twitter you already have a following, and if you're on Twitter, obviously you've already kind of got that experience. So Twitter could be taking the lead. I think it's a bit of a guessing game. The problem is that what do you do? So I kind of look at these apps as all value add, and I don't kind of stop everything and then go all in on these platforms. You've got to have a little bit in every basket. So a little bit on YouTube, a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of LinkedIn, a little bit on Twitter, and now a little bit on Clubhouse. Just don't like hedging your bets is essentially. One thing that we kind of didn't cover, which is really, really cool on Clubhouse, is the idea of there are rooms dedicated for hiring people. So I think that's quite important for us just to touch on. There are rooms that are literally said, okay, we're in the market, we're looking for people, come and pitch us. And I have seen time and time again where someone will have a job requirement, people will raise their hands, they'll give them a quick little spiel about who they are and what they do. And they'll go, okay, that sounds cool. DM me, and then put in the message like Clubhouse or some sort of reference to that room. So what's really cool is two things. Firstly, the job opportunities are there. So you can kind of just hang out in the room when something kind of suits what you do, raise your hand and make sure you got a good enough bio and that gets people's attention. The other thing that it does, it allows you to listen to how people are pitching themselves for an interview. Or, you've got someone in there, you've got 30 seconds to make your pitch. What are they hitting on? What are the important points? What are they not saying? And again, I've heard some amazing stuff in there where I've made notes and I thought, I'm not looking for work, but I've liked the way that they present. I like the way they got to the point. I like the way that they told their whole story in 3 sentences. Great. We can always be learning how to do that better. So that is one really, really nice thing about that Clubhouse, that you can make those connections, find the rooms that are interesting to you, and then get into those rooms and then participate. The first time it's scary. Everybody's new. Everybody's very accepting. Everybody's had their first time in Clubhouse, so they know what it feels like. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Raise your hand. Get up on stage and say, hey, my first time here. By the way, we know it's your first time on there because the first couple of weeks that you're in Clubhouse, you get a special little icon underneath your profile so people know that you're new. And if we know that you're new, you go, hey, don't be nervous. It's all cool. You're just hanging out with friends. Tell us your story. Tell us your problem. Tell us your question. I have not been on stage yet in all my time on Clubhouse with somebody's come out on stage being new and the moderators have said, oh, no, you're not getting to the point, and they've thrown them off the stage all embarrassed. I have never seen that, not even once. I think so. Take those steps, get in there. And is Clubhouse here to stay? Yeah, it is. Should you be getting into it if you can get an invite? I think you should. There's so much value to be gained out of that. Just go in there with your eyes wide open.
This has been amazing, you guys. Please be sure to connect with Liron. We'll have all his links. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel, his blog, follow him on social media. This has been so helpful, Liron. Thank you so much for joining and investing in the Chine coaching community.
Absolutely. And we'll see you on Clubhouse.
Definitely. And if you guys are new to Chine coaching, be sure to join the community. Connect with us online. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss other great helpful videos like this. And be sure to like this video to say thanks to Liron to invest his time to help you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time at Chine Coaching. Cheers.